All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome to the channel. I've got two groups of people to address today. Number one, I've got my current subscribers, where you're gonna have heard a lot of this stuff before. But for the other group, which are the new people coming from the new Mixed Molly Francis Ngannou video, which, for the record, was my idea. Or at least I suggested it. When he was doing the Gaethje one, I was like, dude, you should do Francis next. And he was like, for sure. And I take a lot of pride in that because Mixed Molly Wapari makes the best MMA content in the history of the world. Now, that is some serious hyperbole, but I will stand by that statement and say it's not hyperbolic, and it might even be an objective fact, okay? Now, he takes a long time in between videos, but as it relates to people who are just on the mic every day cranking content, I assume that all you guys will have seen the Mixed Molly Francis video and are gonna come check out my channel, or at least some of you. So I was ready for that. And so when I say things like, I'm the best that's ever done this, I knew you guys were gonna see it. And it makes me happy knowing that, because now you're gonna have to watch it through that lens. Be like, this guy just called himself the greatest on the mic ever, talking about MMA. That takes gutsies when he knows Shale's gonna watch. Look at how nervous I am. Not. I do love your show though, Shale. Anyway, so let's talk about everything. That's basically my approach to this video. I'm gonna talk about everything, all right? So, a lot of people have heard me talk about these things because they're already my subscribers, and I've talked about most of this stuff. But I figure for a new group, which is probably going to be an important group of people as it relates to the mixed martial arts community, because who doesn't watch Mixed Molly Wapari, and who's not going to watch a Mixed Molly Wapari Francis Ngannou video, knowing the level of substance that's going to be there in his background? I'm seriously so excited to watch this video. I cannot even tell you. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about Francis Ngannou, obviously. Talk about him and the John Jones thing. I'm going to talk about him and DC, future of all that stuff. Conor's Twitter, which my current subscribers know exactly where I'm going there. Conor, Gaethje, and Khabib, that little trio, and then maybe even where Tony might fit in. Talk about Harvey Weinstein and Joe Silva. I'm going to talk about Burns and Usman, and then I'm going to talk about cancel culture. And these he's trying to cancel Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan for laughing at a joke. But yeah, so this is going to comprise a very long video. People who actually subscribe to my channel must have heard that list and been like, oh, this is going to be a 3.5 hour video. Maybe. Because I could do an hour on any of these. For the record, you want to know how much prep I've done for this video? Literally like just preparation in terms of here's what I'm going to say. That much. Talk about these topics, okay? I don't prep. That's why I can confidently say that I do this very well. No prep. So, Francis and John Jones first. First, Francis, all right? So, a statement that I'm going to make about Francis, just relating to him as a fighter and why handicapping his fights is pretty easy. The analogy I always give about Francis Ngannou is this. People talk about the strength of a fighter's chin all the time. I mean, that is an absolutely relevant data point. How strong is his chin if he's going up against, anybody? He's got a great chin. Nate Diaz has an almost inhuman chin. Gaethje has a great chin. Are you talking about a guy's chin if he's on a construction site and like a crane falls on him? I mean, like you hear about a construction accident where a crane breaks and it goes boom, and lands on a human being. Are you like, man, how's that guy's chin? Like, did he wear that shot? Or are there certain levels of force that are too much for a human to absorb and you're like, oh, okay, crane landed on him, he's dead, right? Basically that simple. Francis Ngannou, if he catches you clean, that is that same thing as basically having a crane land on you. Like if he catches you clean, there's no human being on earth that's going to absorb that. His level of power is unmatched ever in the UFC as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Shane Carwin. Can you imagine that matchup? So, you guys are gonna learn, I tangent like a motherfucker, okay? If you could take any two fighters from their prime, stick them in a cage, and then see what happens, okay? My dream match, ready for this? What do you guys think I'm gonna say? You guys don't even know me yet. Probably something really cliche and lame, right? How about Fedor in his prime against Cain Velasquez in his prime? How you like that? How you like that matchup? Call me a casual now. That's the ultimate this motherfucker knows his shit answer, right? I've never heard anyone else say it, but you're gonna catch that a lot on this channel because fire, son. Yeah, so, but in that vein, how about we think about Francis Ngannou current against Shane Carwin, TRT Prime? Think about that fight. What are the odds of that thing getting out of the first round? 0. Anyway, so let's talk about Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, just around the fight itself, right? So initially, when this fight was being discussed, I was like, this is stupid, okay? If Jon Jones comes up to fight Francis Ngannou, he's going night-night. I was giving him essentially no shot in that fight. No shot at all, because Francis is going to land a punch at some point, and Jon Jones is going to go asleep at some point. The only person who's had success against Francis was Stipe, and Stipe is the greatest heavyweight in history, arguably, and he had such a brilliant game plan of mixing up boxing and takedowns. Listen, has Jon Jones demonstrated the ability to take Francis, a guy that's 265 pounds of absolute solid brick, down that consistently? Has anybody seen the Gustafsson? Seen Gustafsson won? How many times did Jon try to take Gustafsson down in that fight? Now, obviously, Gustafsson was implementing some great takedown defense technique, but do you think just from a strength perspective that Gustafsson has the advantage over Francis Ngannou? Because Ngannou's probably twice as strong as him, right? Now, Francis is going to know Jon's not just going to stand in front of him and trade, so he's going to try to take him down. So, I mean, if he can implement some pretty basic takedown defense, how is Jon going to win that fight? By knockout? He's not even knocking anyone out at 205 right now, right? Now, I believe Jon Jones is probably certainly top 1 to 3 best fighter of all time. But, like I said, Francis is a different animal. You can't take one shot from him. Not one. Not one. He will decapitate you if he lands one punch. And I do not believe that Jon Jones is going to be able to take him down at will like Stipe did. I just don't believe that. I think he'll get knocked the fuck out. And, yeah. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, there is another side to this thing, right? There is another side to this game. Stipe beat Francis mentally, right? Not just in the fight, like in the X's and O's. He beat him mentally. He broke him down. And Jon, people don't give him enough credit for this particular thing, which is that he is a psychological assassin. Now, Conor gets incredible praise on that, and I do believe that Conor is the apex predator. I stole that from Mixed Molly, but I agree 100%. The apex predator of mental warfare. I think he crawls inside his opponent's brains and just fucks them from the inside out. I mean, he has no equal. He has no equal in that regard. But Jon Jones is right there. He's a more subtle mind fucker, but he mind fucks his opponents heavily. Like, the best story I ever heard about Jon Jones, actually, I was going to say in terms of mental, but this actually is just the best story I've ever heard about Jon Jones. And this is from Frank Mir, right? So before the first fight, he was either rolling or I don't know, he's training with Frank Mir. And Frank Mir is talking to him and asking him to predict how he was going to win the fight. And Frank said something about knocking him out, and Jon Jones is like, no. I can't knock him out in this fight. This fight, I need to break him. He needs to break. Because I'm going to have to fight him again. And I need, in the back of his mind in the second fight, that I broke him in the first fight. So I need to grind him out in the first fight, and then I'll knock him out in the second fight. And I heard that story right before the second fight, and I went, oh man, he's gonna win this fight for sure. That was, I mean, like that, see that, I probably should have prefaced the video with this, all right? What's special about my channel and how I view everything and what I will deliver to you guys as an MMA analyst is that's where I live, okay? I have bordering on psychic emotional intelligence. I look at photographs of people and I can tell you all kinds of crazy shit about them. And if you think that I'm just sucking my own dick, ask my subscribers. Like, just pose the question in the comments about whether I am giving insight that is going to people and then being proven right? It's a gift I have. I have deficiencies that are laughable. I'm the most unorganized person ever. I am a self-destructive moron, okay? I am not just like, over here like, let me tell you about Jesse on fire and all his skills. He's amazing, okay? I am amazing in a couple categories, and I make up for that with utter deficiency and retardville in others, okay? But in terms of that, this thing, I've got people dialed, and I love that shit, okay? I loved that. So when I heard that story, I was like, wow, that is unreal. And I bet on Jon Jones that night as a result of hearing that story. I was going to stay away from that fight, and I bet on him for that reason. Yeah, and then I unless I'm remembering incorrectly, I believe that I got into a haggle with Bovada over that when they overturned that thing to a no contest. I can't remember exactly what happened. Anyway, something happened there. But yeah, so in terms of John Jones leveraging his mental warfare on Francis, I think that if he goes in with an incredible game plan, right, and he gets out of the first round, he's got to get, I mean, obviously, it's what's critical is that he doesn't get knocked out in the first round. Okay, fucking obviously. But if he gets out of the first round, doesn't get hurt and frustrates Francis, he doesn't even necessarily need to hurt him. He just needs to frustrate him, right? Make Francis start to doubt himself, because that's where Francis is vulnerable, in my opinion, right? If you look at how the Stipe fight unfolded, and then look at how he fought against Lewis in the next fight, that is a mental approach. It's a breakable mental game. I mean, it's just that simple, right? He's been broken.